Well, good evening. Welcome to the State of Schools. This is one of my favorite evenings because we're all going to get so much great information about what's happening in our district. But I want to make sure you all feel welcome tonight. It should be a great evening. At this time, I'd like to call to order and introduce a special guest. This is Kyla Woods from Harrison Elementary School, and she's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Come on up.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Kyla. Thank you, Kyla. All right. Ms. Reinhardt, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Ratliff?
Here.
Mr. Weibling?
Here.
Mrs. Dyer?
Here.
Mr. McInnes? Mrs. McKay?
Here. All right. With that being said, I will turn this over to Superintendent Mazzi. Thank you.
Test. Thank you, President McKay. Good evening and welcome to the Fall 2022 State of the Schools Address. I want to take this opportunity to thank those present, those listening, and the support of our community. What you're going to hear this evening is not only a reflection of a proud history, but an even brighter future. Winston Churchill paraphrased George Santayana in an excerpt from the book The Life of Reason when he said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Well, the Marion City Schools has a lot of history to learn from, and that's what we plan on doing as we look forward to the future and move forward together. The data, which we have plenty of, is part of that history. Will be used to strategize ways in which we will inform instruction to meet the individual needs of all of our students. And the report card is just one indicator of that we will be using. While we certainly acknowledge we have growth opportunities that are ahead of us, our schools, with an excellent staff, willing students, and a supportive community, show that the state of our schools is strong. We've been using whenever possible the hashtag change the narrative, meaning there are so many positive things taking place in Marion City schools, and those are what we need to be focusing on. Getting away from the doom and gloom. There is no place in the Marion City schools for the negative. As you'll hear this evening from numerous departments and buildings, there is so much to celebrate, while we understand there is so much work left to do. If you can't see this chair, there's a chair up in the front right below the screen. This is our visual reminder for our decision making and why we are here. For every child who cannot be part of the decision-making process, their voices ask us to remember them. So our mission, you can go on to the mission. What does this mean? Inspiring a community of achievement. Let's take the words and break them down. Inspire. It means to motivate, to stimulate, influence, and encourage. Whether you're an adult working in a department or building, or a student in the classroom, these words have a powerful meaning for all of us. Community. Community is not just a footprint of the Marion City. Community is a group, it's a team, it's a section, it's a class. It could be the band, it could be the choir, it could be drama. It's just not a neighborhood. It's defined differently by each person. Finally, achievement, to attain, acquire, accomplish, and making an effort and success. So how do we define this? Achievement's an individual state. What may be a feeling of achievement for some may not be for others. As many of us have found out and experienced on numerous school visits, sometimes a student just getting to school can be success for that child. We cannot lose sight of that in the circumstances that many of our children are coming from. These aforementioned words and actions are reinforced day in and day out across our district, whether it be in the classroom, departments, the office, cafeteria, transportation, athletics, co-curriculars, and so forth. Everything we do for the children, and it can be measured and defined in a multitude of ways, not just test scores. We must remember how you talk about your district speaks volumes about how you think about it and how others will think about it. Ultimately, how you think about your building and or district will determine how it performs. It's up to us to change the narrative on how we are perceived outside of the walls of the Marion City Schools. It's a constant reminder that no mission statement is worth the paper that it's printed on unless it's communicated constantly, lived every day by everyone, and only then does it become part of our life. We have to commit to making sure that we are the ones creating our own message, because if we don't, you can be sure that people will create one for us. Thank you for attending this evening. Look forward to our presentations. And I'd like to turn it over now to Assistant Superintendent Olympia Della Flora. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mazzi. Good evening, everyone. I'm Olympia Della Flora, Assistant Superintendent for Marion City Schools. It brings me pleasure to open our evening tonight with the discussion of our 4 pillars. For those of you who are familiar with the pillars, we have had to revise them based on the newly revised report card in the way that the state is measuring our progress. So you will see those denoted by an asterisk. The actual overall goal really hasn't changed, but we had to change the wording just so it would make sense for us. So our leadership goal will remain. We want to reduce our staff turnover, improve our staff retention, and also improve our open enrollment ratio by 10%. That remains unchanged. Next to our learning goals, our learning pillars, academic and social emotional, we want to now achieve 3 stars or better on all the components of our local report card. As you may or may not know, previously we were rated by the state with a letter C. We would be meeting the requirement. They have now gotten rid of letter grades, and we are going to a star rating. So a 3-star would be what is expected, but you are able to earn up to 5 stars. So our goal will be to achieve 3 stars or better on all of those components for our academic learning pillar. And our social emotional goal, we will want to continue to improve those school environments, trying to keep our kids in school, reduction in discipline days that are out of school by 2024 for expulsion, out of school, and in-school suspension. Our 3rd pillar, literacy, we did tweak this one a little bit. Our English language arts is now measured by a performance index score for achievement, and so our goal will be to reach whatever that state mark is for our all students group. So there are multiple groups. There's all students is one group, and then there's multiple subgroups. So we're going to set our goal based on what the state says we should have for our performance index in English language arts achievement for our all subgroup students. And last but not least is our legacy pillar. By 2024, we are going to achieve a 75% or better on our college, career, workforce, and military readiness component of the local report card. So this used to also be measured by a letter grade, and now we're getting a percent based on the number of our students that graduate from Harding that are prepared for one of these areas, either college, career, workforce, and military readiness. So these are going to be our goals, and we are really going to have a focus this year for data-driven decisions. We're going to be utilizing data a lot, and that will lead us into our next speaker, which is Mr. Greg Menzie, who is from our teaching and learning department. He's our data and accountability supervisor, and he will provide some data for you from our current local report card, which was just released.
Hi, I'm Greg Menzie, Achievement and Accountability Supervisor, and I am going to be talking to you about the local report card that was just released last month. So what I want to do is just go over each of the components, tell you what's involved in each one of those, so that you have a little better understanding of what goes into getting those stars, like Olympia talked about. Now remember, the local report card is a picture of the academics. It doesn't encompass everything that we do here in Marion City. And when we hear about the schools and the different departments, you're going to hear some of that other stuff that really encompasses what our students are learning and what our students and teachers are doing in our district and all of our other staff members who are composed in the district. So for achievement, what this one does is it is looking purely at the performance index of each of the tested areas. So the performance index is calculated by how many students perform, the percentage of the students who perform at each level. So you have limited, basic, proficient, accomplished, and advanced. And it calculates how many students are at each level and gives you a point value based on that. Then you get a point total. And so our point total gave us a 56.8% out of the maximum point value, which was 107 point something for the districts. And it's a little different now because it used to be out of the max of 120, but they're calculating it a little differently to make sure it's equitable for everybody based on the top performing districts in the school. So we got, or in the state. So we got 2 stars for that one. For progress, this is the growth of our students. So how much our students grow from one year to the next. So you'll hear people talk about value added, and that's what this component is. So it's looking at what they were predicted to do on a certain test and what they actually, how they actually performed, and how much they grew from what the predictions were based on the calculations from the previous test scores that they have. And so we also got 2 stars on that one. For gap closing looks at how all the different subgroups, how we're closing the educational gap with all the subgroups. So it looks at the achievement and growth for English language arts, the achievement and growth for math, the graduation rate, English learner proficiency, gifted achievement, gifted growth, and gifted identification. And then you can get points for all of those areas, and there's a calculation that goes in to determine your final percent, which is that 42.4%, and the 42.4 gave us 3 stars for gap closing. So we met the state standard for gap closing. Graduation, this one hasn't changed. It has a 4-year graduation rate and a 5-year graduation rate. And based on the percentage of those, the only change in it is they're now weighting the 4-year as compared to the 5 years. So the 4-year is 60%, the 5-year is 40% of the overall. And then that overall gives you what your star rating will be, and we got 3 stars for that, from a 91.7 and a 91.1. Now remember, gap closing is always a year in the rear, so it wasn't our 21-22 graduating class, it was the class of 21 who would have been the 4-year. Early literacy, this is looking specifically at K-3 students. So there's 3 components that go into this overall. You have improving K-3 literacy. So that's looking at the students who were considered off track based on fall diagnostics of 1 year to how those students performed the next year. Did they go on track or did they remain off track? And then you also have a 4th opportunity to go from off track to on track from the 3rd grade fall diagnostic to the 3rd grade Ohio State test. The next piece that goes into that is the 3rd grade reading proficiency. So this one looks at the 3rd graders and how they performed in just the reading subscore. So it's not the overall score for the OST, the Ohio State test, it's just the reading subscore. And then the 3rd piece that goes into that is promotion to 4th grade. And so you can see there we had a 15.4% for improving K-3 literacy, 44.7 for 3rd grade proficiency, and then a 99 for promotion to 4th grade. And the promotion to 4th grade one is the one that deals mostly with how they get promoted under the 3rd grade guarantee law. And the last component that goes into the report card is the college career workforce and military readiness, which Olympia touched on in the legacy pillar. And that one looks at how many of our students are getting one of the 11 areas that show that they are ready for their next step after graduation. So it's things like getting college credit plus, scores on AP exams, credentials. So there's 11 areas that they can get something in that will put them in the numerator for this component. So 27.4% of our students earned one of those, and this is again a year in the rear, so it was our 2021 students or graduates. So those are the components that go in, and for the only one that didn't receive a rating was that CCWM, that College Career Workforce and Military Readiness, and that one won't have a rating for another couple years because the state's figuring out how they're going to work it to award the stars for it. But we will see the percentage. And then on this slide, so some achievements. We met the state standard in the gap closing and graduation, which I mentioned. And our performance index points, which go into that achievement piece, increase in both reading and math for the all student subgroup. And that also is in the gap closing. And new is the ratings for the report card, and that no overall rating was given on this one, but next year we will have an overall rating that encompasses all the components, with achievement and progress being weighted the most heavily. And then focus for this year, we're really looking at the gap closing, looking at those subgroups, how we can help the different subgroups grow, and how we can help those different subgroups close those educational gaps and work towards that higher achievement. And that also goes with the progress piece. If we help our students grow, that is gonna help our value added, and all that encompasses that achievement piece and inspiring and keep in a community of achievement, helping our students grow to ultimately help them achieve and to be successful. And Olympia's up again.
Thank you, Mr. Menzie. Being a part of our teaching and learning department, we have several people that are going to speak today that on behalf of teaching and learning, but I'm just going to give just an overview of some of the achievements of our department. Number one, the numerous summer and after school grants that we've received, which allow us to do extended summer learning as well as extended time during the school year. Also, what's new, we do have new iReady math curriculum at Grant, which I'm not going to take away from Mr. Saban's presentation, but that will help us at the middle school level being able to align our instruction with assessments. And then our focus areas, we're working with the district math committee to develop some district-wide goals for what we expect for our students in math, and also supporting a curriculum review process. Professional development opportunities, we're really trying to have a focus to do meaningful professional development and responding to our teachers' needs and our other support staff needs to make sure that those are being met and individualized where we can. And then also focusing on all tiers of instruction. We sometimes tend to lean towards our tier 3 interventions. Those are the most needy students that we have, and we sometimes don't give as much attention as we should to tier 1. So we're really making it a concerted effort to say, what are the various levels of instruction at the tier 1 where we're teaching everybody, and then those students that need more, working on those tier 2 and tier 3. So we will be having a focus with our principals and with our building leadership teams and our district leadership team on how we're supporting students at all those levels. So with one that's very important, I'm now going to introduce Ms. Jennifer Lane, and she's one of our literacy coaches, and she's going to share what we're proud about in our literacy department.
Thank you. I am Jennifer Lane. I'm the district literacy teacher leader and a coach elementary literacy support specialist across the district. And I'm also a certified trainer for reading recovery and literacy lessons professionals. I'm housed at Taft Elementary. So we're looking at our achievements first. Our achievements in literacy, we have the 2 literacy supports at each middle school and high school. All of these individuals have gone through or are going through Orton Gillingham training. For those of you that do not know what that is, Orton Gillingham is a direct explicit, multisensory approach to teaching reading, writing, and spelling. We also have improvement of using data to provide targeted instruction and interventions. We have our decision rules, for example, using things like the Core Phonics Survey and our Hegarty Phonemic Awareness Assessment with our earliest literacy students in elementary to make decisions about specific needs. We also have our literacy success team with Laura Detweiler's community work and really educating our parents and our community, reaching our birth to K families and educating them about their resources that they may have in our community. She's worked also with like the Imagination Library. I think we're at like 53% in our community involvement with that, which is great. And she's also done some partnering with Head Start, so that's great for us as well. And then what's new in 2022, we have our Tier 1 reading curriculum in elementary, our Core Knowledge Language Arts CKLA program, with our first 2 professional developments being complete in that. We have Tier 2 supports at Grant and the elementary schools. So Grant has adopted the Sunday program, which is an Orton-Gillingham-based program. And we also have all of our elementary and literacy support specialists who are going to be doing the IMSE Orton-Gillingham comprehensive training, which is a 30-hour training that they'll be doing. We have our iReady universal screener, which has been added to grades 6 to 8. And then we have our focus areas for 22-23, which we have our dyslexia legislation, really getting our requirements and everything known for that. So what will our PD look like, thinking about what our Tier 1 screener we will have to use for that, and educating our administrators, literacy coaches, teachers, and literacy support specialists about those requirements. We have fidelity of implementation with our CKLA and professional development, and continuing to research Tier 2 strategies and interventions, as Olympia was talking about just a few minutes ago. For example, we have buildings doing things such as Phonics for Reading and West Virginia Phonics, UFly's Foundation from the University of Florida Literacy Institute. So monitoring those Tier 2 interventions and really seeing if that progress is something that's going to help us to think about things we might want to do on a larger scale. So monitoring and as always, monitoring our implementation of our Marion City Schools Reading Achievement Plan is also a focus area. So as you can see, lots of hard work with a tremendous amount of work and embracing of new learning. And so our staff and admin really need to be commended for all of that. So now we want to introduce Tabitha Varner to talk to us about technology.
Hello again. I'm Tabitha Varner, and I'm the District Educational Technology Supervisor, and I'm part of the Teaching and Learning team. So I want to talk about a few of the achievements that we have had. We had a very successful think tank conference in August, which is all in-house. We have teachers that sign up to, I should say staff members, because we had more than just teachers, sign up to train other teachers, and we had different sessions that they could go throughout the day. I think we had a really good time, and looking forward to doing that again. We had to do it virtually the last few years, so this year it was nice to have everyone together. We have installed interactive boards in all of our classrooms in 7 out of our 10 buildings. We, this past summer, did, and this is an estimate because I'm pretty sure this number is higher, 5,000 Chromebooks cleaned and set up for the new school year. It was quite the undertaking. We have a new web page that we're going to roll out for home Chromebook usage for our elementary students. We get asked a lot if our students have these Chromebooks at home, and parents want to know if there's other things that they can do with them while they're at home, so we have a web page for different activities for them to be able to do. And then we did a blended learning book study with our Power Rangers. Our Power Rangers got their name about, gosh, when we first started Power School, which was probably 10 plus years ago. They are our teacher leaders in our building, so we get them together and we train them on different aspects of technology and usage in the classroom, and then they are the leaders in the building. If someone needs help with something, they'll go to them and ask for some things, and if they can't solve it, then they'll come to us. They'll also give us ideas of other opportunities for training that we can help with in the building. What's new in 2022, we have remaining 3 buildings that will be getting the interactive boards. CKLA, which is the core knowledge language arts program, has lots of technology integration in it, so we have been going to those trainings to see how we can help the teachers support them on the teacher side and on the student side. And we're looking to continue to train our Power Rangers in the buildings. We aren't able to get out as much with being the whole face-to-face, did a lot of virtual stuff, so we're hoping we'll be able to change that this year. 2022-23 focus areas, working with teachers within their buildings on needed professional learning. Continue to train on Schoology, which is our learning management program that is primarily used at the middle school and high school. We do have several elementary teachers that are using it, and we're going to work on that a little bit, but it's mainly used at the middle school and high school level. Move from technology training to technology professional learning. We need to go to that next step of, we know how to use the device, now what do we do with it? How do we use it to get students to show what they know with projects using the technology? And then we're working on a middle school and high school webpage for their Chromebook usage. They seem to have lots of schoolwork to do on those, but we thought we can see if we can come up with some other things that coding, some things that might help them explore maybe some careers at the next step. And next, I would like to introduce Matt McQuarrie, and he's our communications supervisor.
Thanks, Tabitha. Good evening. I'm Matt McQuarrie. I'm the communications supervisor for the district, and I have the really fun role here where I get to share all of the amazing things that are happening in the district. So some of our achievements and how we've done that. Number one, that Marion City Schools app. We launched this about a year ago, and we have a number of families on board already. This is an app that is uploaded daily and has all of the information that any of you will need for your students and what's coming up in the district. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the focus areas. Our Prexy podcast. We started this during last year, and we did 14 episodes. And the idea behind this podcast is I will go around the district and talk with all different groups. So, staff, different programs we're doing, teams, clubs, etc. And the idea is in 20 minutes or so, giving an in-depth look to families on what's happening in that specific area. So for an example, we just did the first one of this year last week, and it was over the 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip. So all of the middle school students should listen to that because we have the person running the program detailing every single aspect about that trip. So whether you're in 7th grade or you're going into 8th grade, it's a good listen. We'll continue to do that this year, throughout the year, and just really, again, the idea is to get a holistic view of the district and all of the great things that are happening. Another achievement is our social media. So probably many of you follow Marion City Schools on all of our social media channels. We have a really great social media program. I would say there's not a lot of districts, even districts that are larger than us, that do as much social media and as frequent as us. We have a ton of engagement, and all of our buildings are really involved with helping to get the message out. So one of the ways that we keep this going, and we've grown year over year, one of the ways we do that is introducing new series to the platform. So last year we introduced what we call the Artist of the Week. So how we do that is every week on Friday, during the week, art teachers will send in what was their favorite artwork of the week. And then on Friday, we post all of that from the different buildings. And that's a way to really put a spotlight on our art program because we have a lot of information going out about athletics and music and that kind of thing. This is a way to showcase our artists in Marion City Schools. And then what's new in 2022, and I'm going to skip one here and come back to the Prexy Pride newsletter, but since we're talking about social media, another series we're going to start this year is for CKLA. So we're going to do a video series on that. hopefully around once a month, maybe more. But the idea here is as the buildings are doing activities that relate to our new curriculum that was just introduced, we're going to get video footage of that and then a quick video interview with our teacher. And then every week we'll be able to give an update to families on what the units are for CKLA. The Prexy Pride newsletter we just introduced at the end of August. So we're going to do this every couple months. That's what's the images on the screen there. So the idea here is to just share the news of what's going on through photos and stories about all different things in our district. So the first issue we had was back to school. We had a bunch of first day photos, and then we introduced all of our new administrative staff. Focus areas for this year. Obviously, the big one will be our superintendent search. So as that timeline moves forward and we're underway for doing interviews, that kind of stuff, there's going to be a big focus on making sure that's all communicated with the community. And lastly, what I want to talk about, and I can't stress this enough, is our Marion City Schools app. This is the primary communication tool that I'm going to be using this year. And the reason I say that is because we have a number of ways to communicate with families, but this app is by far the most in-depth and the easiest to use. It's a free download. It doesn't take up very much space on your phone. So you can just go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and search Marion City Schools, and it will pop up. We have news on there, calendars, which is a daily calendar, links, directories, alerts. You can get push notifications if there's an emergency. We also, you can specify which school. So if you just have a student that goes to Taft, you can go on there and just follow Taft, and you can follow Marion City Schools, and then you'll get all the district news and all the news about Taft. We have a one-call system that we use, but typically we're only going to use that in emergencies or closing or delays, or if it's information that is vitally important that everyone has to know about. We're not trying to blow up your phone, every week with district news. That would be insane. But everything is on the app. And social media, like I said, we have a great social media platform, but social media is to share the positive and great things that are happening in our district. It's not an information source. We will from time to time have informational posts out there if it applies to a large group, but we're not going to post, whatever's happening at Garfield next Tuesday, because that's not going to apply to everyone. But if families can download this, we already have, in a little less than a year, we have over a fourth of our families on the app, which is a good start, but we need to get that bumped up. So if I urge families, if you're looking at this app for even 5 minutes a week, just once or twice every 2 or 3 days, you're going to be completely informed on what's going on in the district and with your student. And next I'm going to introduce Dr. Julie Kenny.
Thank you, Matt. I'm Julie Kenny, the Director of Personnel and Operations for Marion City Schools. And I want to talk to you for a moment about our achievements this year. We've had 80% of our certified employees remain with Marion City Schools. 94% of our classified employees stuck with Marion City Schools for this school year, which resulted in 89 resignations or retires. That also resulted in 89 hires. We also have 16 fills with WICSI and substituting positions. The reason there's a discrepancy in those numbers is because we did add a few new positions this year. What else is new? I joined OASPA, which is an HR professionals group, so I could stay up to date on all the rules, the regulations, and the best practices that surround human resources in this day and age. I have committed to workplace inclusion, so I want all of our staff members to feel connected and increase our engagement. And then fostering our strength-based mindset basically means I want to use the strengths that we already have in our district and from our people to improve our progress. And that leads into our focus areas for HR. I want to increase the percentage of staff that stay with Marion City Schools. We have a great system and a lot of great people, and so we want to keep those percentages higher. Also, I'd like to advance the diversity and recruitment strategies. That means going out to colleges, making connections with future teachers and other areas that we need to emphasize how wonderful we are and bring people in. I want to be open and communicative with things that are happening in HR and in the district, so understanding and implementing those policies and helping our staff member to understand and implement new policies or old policies reinterpreted is one of my missions as well. And then again, just trust, transparency, and truth. If you have a question, feel free to ask a question. I will supply any answer that I can give to you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jake Graw, our facilities supervisor.
Thanks, Julie. I'm Jake Graw, facilities supervisor. I want to touch on a few achievements from this past year. We conquered quite a few projects over the summer. We had some extensive masonry and roof projects that we were able to complete at Taft, McKinley, George Washington, the Fitness Center, and at Grant. We improved all the exterior lighting at all the buildings, LED lights for the parking lot and the wall packs for all the buildings. We were able to purchase new student furniture for Grant, George Washington, and the WEC. That is just the first, for Grant and George Washington, the first order. We still have about half or maybe 3/4 to go of those buildings, which I hope to conquer this next school year. What's new for 22 is the Grant chiller replacement. It should start taking place here in the next couple weeks. They have to expand the concrete pad and get ready for the new chiller. The Harding HVAC controls, we're going to upgrade the controls here. That'll allow us to better control the temperature and the indoor air quality in the building, monitor how much outside air we're bringing in. And also in the spring, we were awarded a safety grant that we're able to purchase 55 new handheld digital two-way radios. I handed those out last week to all the elementaries, so they are all on a digital platform, which will be better communication, clearer, should be a lot better. The 22-23 focus areas, I'm going to continue the masonry work and some roof projects at Harding, Grant, and Garfield. I want to finish the student furniture at Grant and George Washington. A big project coming up is Grant asphalt replacement. It's in terrible condition. I tried to get it done this summer, didn't work out, so we're going to focus on for this coming next summer. And replacing the rest of the radios, two-way radios, we applied for another safety grant. If we get that awarded, then we will purchase for Harding and for Grant. Next, I'd like to introduce Officer Dunaway.
I'm Officer Dave Dunaway. I'm a Marion City Police Officer. I've been assigned to Marion City Schools for the last 10 years. Some of our achievements of the door sensors we put into Grant and Harding. The door sensors allow us, and we get alerts when the doors are propped open so that we know that the door is open and it's not secured. The vape sensors have been placed in the bathrooms at Grant and Harding. Not only do these pick up on vape, they pick up on smoke, they pick up on excess humidity, so if somebody leaves the water running and tries to flood the bathroom, those will go off. If there's a lot of yelling and screaming in the bathrooms, the vape sensors will go off too as an alert for violence. Staff training. Staff training was a little bit difficult for the last 2 years due to COVID. We would never gather in a room like this like we are now. So we've put the focus back on that and working with that. At the end of last school year, we worked heavily as much as we could with it, and then we re-examined it again this year and really put an emphasis on that. A new PA system is going to be put in the schools, which is huge because there's a lot of schools that in certain rooms the PA doesn't work, so if we had an alert that went out, the rooms wouldn't even know it. The federal and state grants that Jake talked to for the purchases, the radio was a very big purchase because that is so crucial to the communications amongst, not only amongst the schools themselves, but district-wide. We're able to talk from one school to another and amongst the people and the buses and all that. Due for 22 is also a threat assessment. We're putting together a threat assessment team, not only for the district, but for each school. And with that, we're also putting together a new safety team for each school and the district. Focus areas for 22-23, the House Bill 123, safety and violence education. That focuses a lot on suicide prevention for students, active shooter training, just a lot of things that are upcoming. Threat assessment team is one of the parts of the House bill that's going to be mandated. It has to be done by March of '23. Crisis response team is along with that, and get that trained. Safety team, like we said, for building a district, this has kind of been on paper, but we've not really had a lot to do with it here lately, just due to we've not had meetings, we've just kind of went to the wayside a little bit just due to all the issues. We're looking at the safety audits that we've had through ODE and Safer Schools Ohio, re-examining those. We are now currently compliant with all those. And ongoing training and drills with the active shooters and student training and staff training. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Julie Kenny.
Thank you, Officer Dunaway. Now I'm going to put on my operations hat and talk to you about some things in transportation. Our achievements this year, we had a 100% fill rate for our bus driver positions. We do still need 2 utility drivers. Those could be van drivers or substitute drivers, so if you're interested, please call us. We did add our bus aides to the bus routes, and we've had no cancellation of the routes or the trips due to bus driver shortages to date. And we saw an amazing amount of teamwork from our bus drivers and our transportation department, even throughout all of the road closures that we've experienced this fall. New in 2022, we have the new distance to the school bus, the stop requirements, and we're adding Hootie the Owl. He's going to bring our bus safety to our students at the schools. That will begin October 24th. Focus areas for transportation include driver recruitment and retention, increasing the number of bus aides, and also Hootie's impact on the school bus safety education. We hope that our partnership in our PBIS program will help our students on the buses. And in food services, we also had 100% of our food service positions filled. And over the summer, we served 23,868 meals. That includes breakfast and lunch. New this year, we have a new Titan point of sale program that'll be used in the cafeterias. We're working with a new management group with our food services department. And focusing, we'd really like to hear from the students and their food preferences. What do they like? What are they interested in? And how can we help create new and exciting food menus? This time I'd like to introduce Jen Sheridan, Director of Student Services.
Hello. Like Julie said, I am Jen Sheridan. I'm the Director of Student Services. Some achievements for this year, our preschool numbers are finally rebounding after we saw a decline due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Right now, as of today, we have 237 preschoolers enrolled, and 125 of those students are ECE eligible. Last year, we ended the year with 245 preschoolers enrolled, and only 87 of those students were ECE eligible. So we are starting off very well. In the summer, we had 80 staff members that participated in restorative practices training. So that we offered 2 sessions, and those were 2 days each. What's new in 2022 is we partnered with the ESCCO, which is the Educational Service Center of Central Ohio, for a board certified behavior analyst, which is also known as a BCBA. She's in our district to support 2 days a week right now. She is supporting every building currently, and we are hoping to get her a 3rd day because obviously there is a lot of need, and she's staying quite busy in all of our buildings. And we also have the addition of the PEACE rooms in 3 of our 6 elementary schools. PEACE stands for Positive Engagement and Calming Environments. And we started with those 3 buildings based on discipline data and the referral data from the 21-22 school year. Focus areas for this year include focusing on our not met indicators on the special ed profile. So things like that would include serving students in the general education environment or within their home buildings for more than 40% of their school day, being proficient in reading and math, and compliance things like timely initial evaluations. And then the other big focus area this year is our social emotional learning screener, which will be implemented for the first time. Our window opens October 31st. and that'll be open for 4 weeks to start off. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Johnny Jackson, the Diversity and Equity Supervisor.
Thank you, Mrs. Sheridan. So for diversity and equity, we have a few achievements this year. First would be our Empower with Diversity Conference, and I want to uplift Marsha Pitts, who's here, Chris Sabin, and also Jim Musbach and their staff. They did a really good job of organizing and also coordinating staff and students to make sure we had a good student turnout, and also uplift our Marion County school districts who also attended and did a really good job. That conference really focused on diverse students and also diverse employers to try to have some mirroring effects. That way students could see themselves in their future employment. New Teacher Network, which is led by Lisa Morgan and also Ray Levinson. They're doing a really great job to capture some of the experiences of our new teachers. But then also for our leadership pillar, we want to keep our new staff and continue to highlight all of our assets here in Marion City Schools. So monthly they meet to have a both formal and informal meeting. At the formal meeting, new teachers get access to some of our programs, which might be gifted education, it might be transportation, it might be diversity, equity, and inclusion, it might be CKLA. So we're trying to build that connection with our new teachers through our strong programming. Next is our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Collaborative. Again, this is a community-driven project. This is between Marion City Schools, Ohio State University Marion, OSU Extension, Tri-Rivers, and some other organizations that really believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion. We meet monthly to talk about what are some of the challenges, but also what are some of the cooperations that we can create. So what's new in 2022? The most exciting thing, well, the two most exciting things are our equity audit. Over the next 8 to 9 months, we are going to really learn how our staff experience equities and inequities. We're starting this fall, actually in a couple weeks, by rolling out focus groups for our staff, and they'll also be a part of a survey. So we're really excited to understand how our staff are experiencing Marion City Schools, and then in the spring, we're going to roll out surveys and focus groups for our students. And this effort is really to get us back to our mission of inspiring a community of achievement. Our second point is our ASCD Whole Child, Whole Educator Fellowship. I want to uplift the work of Jenny Thaxton, our Student Affairs Supervisor, who's doing some really good work to connect us back to the state of Ohio's mission to look at the whole child and how they're experiencing school. So this fellowship will give us access to 6 professional developments over a year-long journey so that we can basically connect to how our students are experiencing school and how we can do the education of being culturally relevant and then also relevant for social emotional learning. The unique thing about this fellowship is we also want to highlight how our educators are bringing their whole selves into the classroom. So we're looking at the wellness model for both student and also staff there. For our focus areas, as I mentioned earlier, our equity audit is one of our large focus areas for this year. Our ASCD Whole Child and Whole Educator Fellowship, and also our New Teacher Network. All of this work really centers us and gets us back to our mission of inspiring a community of achievement. Next, I would like to introduce some of my favorite staff members, Mr. Mr. John Smith and Mrs. Tina Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I am John Smith. I am the head principal at Garfield Elementary. And before I segue us into the state of the schools from the building principal level, I want to take a minute and just quickly shout out everybody that you've heard from before this moment in tonight's State of the Schools, from our Board of Education, our new district administration, and Mr. Mazzi and Mrs. Della Flora, and then everybody that works at our district service center. I can say this is my 10th year in the district, and I feel very supported from the top down this year. This is my first year as a building principal, and they have all just been so there and helpful and honestly inspiring. So I just want to thank everybody that had gone before tonight and thank all of you sitting right here in front of me right now. So Thank you for allowing me that segue. But like I said, I am John Smith. I am the head principal at Garfield Elementary, and I have with me Miss Tina Barnes. She has asked me to refer to her as a vintage member of our staff. But she teaches fourth grade for us, as well as really just filling in wherever anybody might be needed. She's a very valued member of my staff. So our achievements that we are celebrating right now at Garfield, we saw a 10-point increase in our performance index rating. That was the first time that our PI score had jumped in my 3 years at Garfield. So we are riding that wave right now. We're kind of feeling that in our building. For the first time also in my 3 years there, we have achieved 5 out of 5 stars in one of the areas of the grade card, and that was in progress. And that measures the expected growth of all of your 4th and 5th grade students who are tested. So we had substantial evidence that our 4th and 5th graders are exceeding what their projected growth is right now in our building. Also, our gap closing score, our scores rather across the board, we exceeded expected growth in a lot of those areas as well, primarily with students with low socioeconomic standing and those with special needs. So you can refer back to what Mr. Menzie said earlier if you wanted to see more about what each of those areas is, but we are riding the wave of those achievements. You want to share what's new at Garfield, Ms. Barnes?
Must be nice. Good evening. I'm Mrs. Barnes, and I've taught for the district for 22 years, therefore I consider myself vintage, not veteran. This year, first of all, thank you guys for all coming out. Thank the board, Mr. Massey, and Olympia for the support that we're feeling in the buildings, and seeing you guys out there with our kids and everything is amazing. So I want to thank you for all that. What's new in 2022? The new administration at our building, the staff has 11 combined years of experience in Garfield, and we are truly blessed to have them. It starts from the top down, and the narrative is changing. Our focus on the culture in the building is for both staff and students, so it's just not us centering on just our students, it's centering on everyone in the building. And our motto every day, we say, I better myself, I better my school, I better my world, and we truly believe it. We are doing this we have it centered around restorative practice, affirmation, safety, and love. Our students walk away every day knowing that they're loved, and if they don't, they will figure it out real soon. And our staff walks away knowing that we are loved, and we all say, I love you to each other, so the kids hear it because we mean it. It's not just us saying it. We truly mean that we love each other, and we'll do anything for them and for our staff. And the building goes differentiated by grade level. As our building starts to look at what is needed for the building, as in our academic goals, we were allowed to look at our grade levels and see what we chose as what is needed at first based on iReady and CBMs and everything, and then work from there up, which allows us a lot more support from our administration, but also allows us that because we're the masters in our rooms, to be able to say, this is what our classroom needs, but this is what 4th grade needs overall, and this is what we're working for. And then our administration would be the support to give us that boost to keep going where we got to go to that excellence that we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes, and I will wrap up with our focus areas this year. Our biggest one is our early literacy initiatives, and you've heard it before, but we now have the core knowledge language arts program at our elementary schools, so we're going to lean heavily into that new program this year to be our main Tier 1 support for our early literacy, but we also have continuing things such as Haggerty, which is a phonemic awareness program that we've seen a lot of success with, and so really hammering down on our early literacy initiatives. Our effective intervention groupings at all grade levels, that's going to be our primary way to catch our students who may be falling behind or who may need accelerated beyond what is typical at their grade level. But we do have intervention groups at every single grade level, and teachers share kids, and kids get exactly what they need. Every single day they're going to get 20 or 40 minutes depending on what their intensive needs are, but We do have those differentiated as well. And then we are looking at our building to achieve a silver rating for PBIS, which PBIS is our positive behavior interventions and supports in the building. So anything regarding expectations, procedures, behaviors, consequences, those kind of things. You can actually apply through the state support team to receive a rating on that. And we are looking to apply for the silver rating this year, which would mean that we are doing everything we need to building-wide, and then also looking at our first tier of students who would need interventions in those areas. Thank you for your time tonight. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Luke Carlisle from George Washington Elementary.
Good evening. As Mr. Smith said, I'm Luke Carlisle. I'm the principal at George Washington Elementary, and I have brought with me Miss Allie Schumacher, our assistant principal, to be a part of this presentation. We are partners in this work of service for our school and our community, and I thought it was just fitting for her to be here with me. So a couple of achievements I'd like to highlight tonight. First is that we have been the recipient of the Ohio Arts Council grant. It's a $12,000 grant that has afforded us the opportunity to bring in 6 different local artists from our community here in Marion to bring different art experiences to our students. We actually have just finished the first and begun the second experience, and it's really been top-notch experience, and looking forward to the rest. We've worked together. We're new. I think we're the only administrative team that's completely new to the building in the district. And so we've done a lot of relationship building and things of that nature. And so one of those things that we did is we established building norms and values. So getting to know our people, know how they operate, what they value, kind of putting our heads together. We started as a whole staff, pooling ideas and kind of voting on what we thought was important to us. And then we pulled that together into statements using our building leadership team. So that was a nice achievement to start off our tenure at GW. We implemented a system for continuous monitoring of student progress with the support of Greg Menzie, who helped us to leverage the EduClimber tool that we have at our disposal. He helped to build a data wall for us to be able to sort students based on their performance levels on our different beginning of year assessments, and then that helps us to kind of drill down a little bit farther, and then each month we're going to be having conversations around are the children improving, are they plateauing, are they responding to the supports that we're giving them, and if not, then we can use that as a basis for our decision making. And then we were looking at some of our data points and honed in on our kindergarten group last year that's now in first grade. That was our pilot group for CKLA. And we noted that there was a 21% reduction in RIMPs, reading improvement and monitoring plans, for that group of students from last year to this year. So that brings great hope for what's ahead with the implementation of our new program, and looking forward to seeing that come to fruition in the future. And now I'll turn it over to Ms. Schumacher to tell a little about what's new.
So as Luke already touched on, we're both new this year. So that's something that's new at GW, and we second what John and Tina said about feeling supported. And as he also already said, we've been working on building relationships with our staff and students and families. We also are one of the schools that implemented the Peace Room, which is the positive engagement and calming environment. And Jen Sheridan touched on that a little bit, but it's a great environment for students to go and de-escalate and then get back in the classroom. And then also, as you've heard in the elementary schools, CKLA is also new.
Thank you, Ms. Schumacher. I'm going to piggyback and steal a little of her thunder about the new building administration and just say she's fantastic. I know Matt and Kyle had a piece of that over at Taft as she came to GW from Taft, where she served as a third grade teacher and as a first grade teacher most recently. But she's a great partner, and looking forward to working with her. in the year and hopefully years ahead. 22, 23 focus areas, of course, CKLA implementation, that's a heavy emphasis. We're allocating time and team planning to do that work at professional development days as well. So far, it's going very, very well. And beyond that, just trying to maintain that safe, consistent, predictable educational environment for our students to thrive within. We want clear and high expectations, and ultimately we are following through with those clear and high expectations, and we're seeing some fruit already, and hope for more into the future. Thank you for your time, and I want to introduce Mr. Barton and Mrs. Adams as our next speaker.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And again, I want to recognize everyone tonight for coming out and listening to us. I know sometimes it gets very long, and so I'll try to make it very short. So have a good evening. All right. I do want to say just a couple things real quick before I get into the data piece. I do want to recognize all the elementary principals. It's a really good group. We meet every Monday at 2:30 to decide and discuss things, because we feed off one another. There are a lot of things we don't know, and there are a lot of things sometimes decision makers try to help us with, or we bring to our meetings, et cetera. So it's really a good group, I think, for all of us, and we appreciate also the fact that we're able to get together and spend that time to really discuss and problem solve. I want to talk about, obviously, we're very, very excited about the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade in English language arts. The idea that we scored higher than the state average. As you well know, the state loves to compare districts. If you haven't been to any state meetings, try it. It's amazing. Because they always just like to hone in on one particular thing. And we scored higher than all the state average. We also increased our 5th grade science scores. I think this is just amazing to me, 36.7%. Now, obviously, you could say, well, that's an oddity, and I understand that, but I've been in the business many, many years, and that is huge, 36.7%. And I just think that's an amazing attribute for our students and also for our teachers who were able to get that done. We also last year increased our 3rd, our 4th, and our 5th grade ELA proficiency. So in all 3 of those areas we increased. We also, I didn't put it in there because I was trying to keep my slides short, but we also did increase 2 of our math areas also. We just didn't make all 3. But if I could have had a little more slide, I would have put it in there. And then also we want to talk about the gap closing. I know it was talked about at the beginning today. But again, we got 5 out of 5 stars. And that basically means we reduced our subgroup differential. And again, the subgroups are things like special education, limited English proficiency, socioeconomic disadvantage, et cetera. So we did a really good job in that area of hitting those subgroups. And again, 5 out of 5. I have never hit 5. I know they have different ratings every year for this 5 stars, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. But I've never hit 5 out of 5 or hit all those areas in subgroups. So again, we're very proud of that. I'm going to turn it over now to Mrs. Adams, who is from, obviously teaches 2nd grade in our building, but she also is head of our Lighthouse team, and talk a little bit about that, as that's one of our action teams from our Leader in Me philosophy.
I'm one of the facilitators, not the only one, and this is year lucky 13 for me, so 13 years in the district. We have aligned our district in building goals under our Franklin Covey Leader in Me umbrella, and our BHE team has upheld our Lighthouse school status since December 2016. So every 4 years we have an on-site recertification, every 2 years we have an online certification. So we just finished our 2nd online certification. And what's new in 2022 is each grade level team, we're working to determine our English language arts and our math goals. We are our BHE instructional team. We're going to collaborate together with our grade level teams to develop our building goals, and we are utilizing a school-wide reading plan to make sure we are implementing our core knowledge language arts with fidelity. So I just want to go back to that. Leader in Me Lighthouse designation, we've been in the process since 2012, and we are still a Lighthouse school since 2016, so we're really proud of that.
one of the pieces too, I just want to follow up with one of our leaders today who led us in the Pledge of Allegiance as a member of our Lighthouse team, our student Lighthouse team. So that's just one of the things we try to always stress is put our students out in leadership roles and put our staff out in leadership roles. So that's another piece why we brought her tonight with us. And again, Kyla Woods. I also want to talk very brief about our focus areas. We're going to increase the number of students proficient in ELA by 10%. You know, where did we come up with these percentages? Basically, what we did, we took a look at, okay, where are we now? And I also, again, going back to comparative data, since that's what the state likes to use, we looked at that and see how much could we increase, and we looked at that at about a 10% piece there. Math, again, we weren't as proficient in math as I already mentioned to you, so again, we could jump that up and move it up by 15%. And in terms of our reading plan that Ms. Adams talked about, really going to focus on our Tier 2 instruction. And basically with Tier 2 instruction for us, one of the things, we're looking at our iReady assessments, especially in terms of reading, and we're going to make that and break it down based on those assessments to small group instruction. And working with small groups across the board, we have approximately 6 staff members all the time working with those kids based on the idea of breaking it down into smaller groups. So again, we talked earlier tonight, someone in one of our groups, I can't remember which one it was, but they were talking about, you know, our very needy groups and are also the ones that are the tier who are just, all of them give the same thing or about the same thing. Okay, this is that kind of group in the middle. They're not really up at the top in terms of needing a lot of intervention, but they are here in the middle, and we got to figure out a way to also get in there and get that done. And that's what our focus is on our Tier 2 in terms of our reading plan. We also are going to be focusing on our multi-tiered support system, and in particular, we're going to focus on early intervention with that. One of the pieces is trying to identify that at such an early age, those students struggling not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom, and then trying to work, I like to call it work magic sometimes, but try to figure out, okay, let's get them now, and they're in kindergarten, they're in first grade and second, because that's going to make it easier, especially for our middle school staff, when we can take care of all of those problems at the early age. And then finally, we're looking really hard at developing our in-service opportunities, because I'm a believer that all staff meetings should be professional development. I really don't believe in staff meetings where you just distribute things and hand things out. I'm a believer, let's teach people, and we got an hour, let's get it done. And as part of that, we want to make sure that we're developing around, one, our state data, and also our iReady assessments, because we use iReady continuously, both in math and reading, and we want to derive that material and go on. So again, thanks for the time today, and sorry, but I couldn't just walk out, but I didn't think I could do that. But anyways, I do want to introduce Pam White, and she's going to talk next from Hayes.
I am Pam White. I'm the principal at Hayes Elementary. We're also known as the little school with the big heart, or the ones that are surrounded by trains. So however you want to choose it. We tend to believe we're the school with the big heart. We feel very accomplished at Hayes. However, we just chose to highlight 3 of our big accomplishments. So 98% of our teaching staff has been trained in letters training. That's an intensive program that they go through, and it helps them understand better the strategies of reading, the science of reading, and the 5 big ideas of reading. And so with that, we are able to bring that into our classroom in all levels of instruction. And so we are very proud of that our staff has encompassed that. Along with that, we're taking that knowledge and imparting that onto our students. And so we have been able to meet some of the state requirements on the progress part of our report card. And also, with our iReady testing this year, we moved our kids 10% out of the intensive range from fall to fall. And so that meant we didn't have that summer slide with those students this year. So we are very proud of that. What's new in 2020 is we are wanting to strengthen our relationships with our students. And so we are practicing. We have went through lots of different restorative training. And so we are practicing the community circles. We are finding that our students are better engaged with us, and we are understanding our students better. So that is helping us with our instruction. Along with that, we also decided this year to refocus and restructure our intervention and extension time. And so with that, we regrouped our students. So we looked at our data, we decided where our students were going to be best needed to be met and or extended. And so we have grouped those. We have fluid groups throughout K2 and also 3-5. And so all of our teachers are committed to this. And we are finding that our students are not only getting to meet more staff that way, but also really wanting to learn and making those connections. So what's our focus area then for the 22-23 area or school year is with our knowledge of our students and the data that we have been looking at, we want to strengthen our own practice of providing evidence-based learning for those students. And with that, our data showed that our students needed to work more intensely in the phonics and vocabulary skills, and so that will help us get better comprehension with our students. Okay, and with that said, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Angie Pace.
Hello, I am Angie Pace. I am the new head principal of McKinley Elementary School. Some of our achievements are that 25% of our third graders are at or above grade level in reading, which may not seem like a lot, but it does show that our core knowledge language arts, our CKLA pilot last year, really helped a lot of our students make great gains and then keep them over the summer. So we didn't have a lot of summer slide there either. All of our Ohio State test scores trended up from 2021 in a range between 2 and 15 percentage points. We have a 29% reduction in EduClimber entries from last year to this year, meaning we have fewer students being referred to the office for classroom behaviors. What's new for 2022 is we have a revamped multi-tiered system of support systems. I will mess that up every time because I like to call it MCSS because it's way easier. And our positive behavioral interventions and supports, or PBIS. Our committees are going to focus on data and what needs to happen for groups of students. We have a peace room, which everybody's already said. Positive engagement and calming environment. We have a good deal of students, probably 10 to 15, that use it every single day. They're in there every single day for less than 10 minutes, right? They go in, they talk to Sierra, and then they go back to class, de-escalate, and that, for that group of students, it has reduced their office referrals by 70%, which is awesome. Keeping them in the classroom as much as possible is our goal. We have scheduled our educational support professional, our ESP, to push into classrooms once a week to provide whole group lessons on just conflict resolution, de-escalation, just self-regulation sort of strategies that she can teach the whole class. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit nervous, and this is my first time. I feel like I keep making weird noises. All right, so our 2022-23 focus areas are math. We're researching ways to improve our number sense across the building. I feel, as a former math teacher, number sense in operations is foundational for what our students are going to be able to do for algebraic thinking, algebra, geometry. It's the groundwork to help them succeed. In that, I've had a lot of conversations with Mr. Smith from Garfield, and he has ideas that his school has used in the past, so we're going to try to implement what makes sense for McKinley this coming year. We want to increase parent and community involvement. We have a decent amount of our parents and community members who have signed up to be volunteer readers within our classrooms, and we're really excited for that. And as always, we're going to focus on building culture for staff and students, built around being safe, being responsible, and being kind.
And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Matt Jacobs.
Thank you, Angie. Good evening. My name is Matt Jacobs. I'm the principal at Taft Elementary. Some of our achievements, we increased our iReady Tier 1 scores by 15%, and that's based on our iReady data. And just to let you know, Tier 1 is on or above grade level, so we're really excited about that in reading. And then we increased our iReady Tier 1 scores by 10% in math. Over the summer, it was voluntary that we offered some restorative practices professional development. I'm going to brag for a moment. We had 22 staff members who volunteered to go. They did get paid, but they volunteered their summer time to go to that. And I got a sneak peek on the spreadsheet, and Taft was the highest building in the district. Just throwing that out there, not sure. And we did continue that for our staff. We continued that over when we started the school year, having restorative practices, professional development, and during the last professional development. New in 22, PBIS is continuing to be a focus. We also have a Peace Room, and I know you've heard all about that. One thing that I'm truly impressed with the Peace Room is the students are creating goals while they're in the Peace Room on how they're regulating. They're creating a goal. It's 10-minute maximum to be in the Peace Room, but they're coming up with ways that they're going to de-escalate themselves, and that's really been a success in there. Our PBIS matrix it wasn't new, but we're really focusing on it again this year and putting that everywhere in our hallways, focusing on that. We have PBIS days after a long weekend or after a break where we definitely hit the matrix, what our expectations are. Of course, we're focusing on CKLA like every other building. We're really hitting that, the assessment piece of CKLA during TBT time. And is that my music to leave? And our focus areas this year, nonfiction writing is a big one. And with CKLA, it makes it fairly easy to do that. But we're really focusing on what the writing is looking like, and we're doing that during BLT time. So every BLT meeting, we're really focusing on that writing, the quality of the writing, the quantity of the writing, and not only looking for grammar. We're really looking at the meat of the writing. And being consistent, I love that Luke had that same goal in his building. Being consistent, safe, and predictable is one of our biggest things that we are trying to do at Taft. So when a student is misbehaving, they know what a consequence could look like. When a student is behaving, they know what a reward is going to look like. And being that consistent throughout the building. Obviously, there's more focus areas, but many of them are district-wide, and you've already heard about them. But those are two that are specific to Taft. Next, we'll have Mr. Sabin talking about Grant.
Thanks, Matt, and thank you for having me here to talk tonight. It's a privilege to be here and share all the wonderful things happening at Grant. It's hard, unlike Tim, it was really hard to get it down to one slide about all the wonderful things we have going on and exciting things at Grant. And I'm Chris Sabin, principal at Grant Middle School, if I didn't introduce myself. Some of our achievements this year, we did meet our state standard in gap closing. We also made more progress than expected in 6th grade math and in 8th grade ELA. That's 2 years in a row for those subject areas where we're getting above expected growth of our students. So there is good culture there in those teacher-based teams to make sure our students are learning more than a year's worth of growth each year. Also at our Withrow Equity Center, our smaller alternative middle school, we really focused on fostering collaboration with families, or maybe some families weren't connected to school before. In the large school at Grant Middle School, we're able to get I think we got every parent in for conferences last year, both times for all of our students there. So it's a really great achievement for our families and supporting them over at the Withrow Equity Center. What's new? There is a lot new at Grant Middle School. That's what makes it exciting around every corner at the school. We have many new staff members, but really their energy, some of them chose to come back to Grant that were in the district, and they've really impacted the learning environment for all of our students since day one. Another focus is we are a big school. That's okay. It gives us a lot of opportunity to have fun and do exciting things. We focus on taking care of our kids and making our big school small. So one thing that we have is we have 2 to 3 teams at each grade level. That just depends on the number of students that we have. Our 7th grade group is a little bit smaller this year. We also moved a lot of teacher classrooms this year, so wasn't the most exciting move for some of our teaching staff, but when you walk around the school, we have a team over here, 6th grade. We have it split up between the hallways if you're familiar with the setup of our school. So we really are able to keep our arms around our students a little bit better at Grant. We also have a dedicated counselor and administrator for each grade level, so really making our big school small is what we talk about all the time. Another thing to make our big school small is we've adjusted class periods to have uninterrupted blocks of ELA and math for our 6th graders, because we know that 6th grade transition sometimes is hard, but we really are off to a great start this year with our 6th graders. We also have a 30-minute 4th period to allow time for intervention and extension of learning outside of the typical classroom period. We also implemented iReady diagnostic pathways in English and math. So that really, to me, created a lot of consistency from our students coming up from kindergarten through 5th grade. And now our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are also continuing with the iReady diagnostic, and we have the iReady pathways to support our teachers in finding the correct intervention to do with our students. And we also have created a parent advisory group. We meet monthly. So it won't always want it to be sunshine and rainbows and all the great things that are happening at Grant. There is a lot of great things happening, but also we want to, I want to be accessible to our parents and let them tell me what their experience is and what we can do better at Grant Middle School. Also at the WEC, what's new in 2022, we are excited about our partnerships with the Village Network. We've also partnered with the City of Marion Recycling for service learning opportunities with our students. In our focus areas for 22-23, we want to improve the achievement for all of our students with frequent intervention and progress monitoring. And that's something that our teacher-based teams and our building leadership team identified as a need last year. So we adopted iReady. We're also using classroom time and our teacher-based teams to monitor the intervention and progress of all of our students. Another big focus of ours at middle school is to reduce the number of missing assignments. So that is a change coming from elementary to middle school, where from having one teacher all day who's checking up on you on your 4 subjects, now you have 4 different teachers that you have to essentially learn the classroom expectations and the workload in there. So we have, we're monitoring that through our teams. We also have an after-school academic support where we have some of our certified staff helping after school, making sure our students get the work done from a certified teacher. And how we're making all that happen, we mentioned earlier, I think on the 2nd or 3rd slide, about our after-school grant that we were awarded at Grant. It's something that's really exciting and allowed us to kind of fill in some of the holes of the service and our wraparound services that we identified last year. Another focus area at the WEC is we have student leadership opportunities. So with our smaller staff there and our smaller number of students, there is a leadership pillar that's led by each staff member, and then the students are getting opportunities to lead within our 4 pillars, and then each quarter they're going to rotate. So throughout the year, each student has had an opportunity for a leadership opportunity aligned to each pillar. So a lot of exciting things happening. I had to cut it short there, but feel free to, I'll talk about all the great things happening at Grant Middle School anytime. But it's my pleasure to introduce Jen Musbach-Wellman.
Well, good evening and welcome to Harding High School. My name is Jen Wellman. I'm the principal here at Harding, so we're glad you get to spend your evening with us. Achievements for Harding High School. We're very excited that we have met the state standard in gap closing, progress, and graduation rate. Also, for the first time in several years, all of our students have the same permanent graduation requirements. So we can send the same message to all of our students, all of our staff, and most importantly, all of our families. We've had the highest number of 12-point credentials earned in the last school year at the Mary Ellen Withrow High School Academy, which is just our 2nd campus. Our marching band has already qualified for state competition this year in their first outing. So if you came here to the building today, you probably saw them putting in hard work outside, and it's paying off already. We are in our second year of the Harding Athlete Exchange Program with other MOAC schools so that our student athletes can experience what other schools have to offer, and we can invite other students into our building to experience what we have to offer. We've had some significant improvements to our soccer stadium at Harding, and last year we had over 500 student athletes participating here at Harding. What's new in 2022? We are excited that we have increased our advanced placement and pre-AP offerings at Harding, so several students taking advantage of that AP coursework or pre-AP coursework. And I think it's important to note that those courses are open to any student that's interested in them, and we have a lot of students taking advantage of those courses at all grade levels. We have several new staff at Harding this year who are already making a significant impact. We've got the National Technical Honor Society at our Mary Ellen Withrow campus, started by Ms. Wingert, inducting 6 students this year, and we hope for more in the coming years and possibly in the spring. This year is the inaugural year for esports at Harding High School. That's in a partnership with MTC, so if you don't know what esports are, you'll want to Google it. It's everywhere, and I encourage you to Google it because it's out there. We're excited that we have that for our students this year. We have 7 new student and teacher-led clubs just in the last year at Harding High School, so really looking for ways for our students to connect to their campus and to their community and to each other here at Harding. We have new elementary and middle school athletic programs starting this year, so be on the lookout for more news there. Congratulations this year for Jacob Bischler, our MOAC golf champion, Taryn Simmers, our MOAC first singles tennis champion, and Taylor Iden becoming the Marion County all-time leading goal scorer. So some athletic successes this year, and last year we had 10 All-Ohio athletes for Marion Harding. So what does that mean moving forward this year? We've got focuses on academics, involvement, achievement, lots of different areas we want to help our students find success in. First, we want to focus on remediation and advancement of achievement in our state tested areas. So we've seen growth with our recent report card data, and we want to keep that trend going. Our performance index is the highest it's been in the last 5 years, so we're very excited to keep that trend moving. We're going to support development and retention of our new staff across the board in all areas. We do that internally with a new teacher network at Harding and also through Marion City with their new teacher network. So we're all working together really to help our staff feel welcome and stay with us at Marion City Schools. We're hoping to build some more culture at Harding through student-informed and student-led activities. So if you entered the building through the main entrance, you can thank the senior class at Harding for the red carpet. It is homecoming week, and the senior class is responsible for the red hallway down Main Street. Completely student-led by our student government here at Harding. We're going to improve achievement for our students with frequent and timely intervention and monitoring. And that is a continuous goal for us as we want to help our students achieve and ultimately earn that graduation plus what they do after graduation. We will also be looking at what Grant is looking at with reducing our missing assignments through school-wide support and after-school support. We have student leadership opportunities coming up that are aligned to each pillar, and it's also an Athletic Hall of Fame induction year for Harding High School. And lastly, we're living it now. Like I said, it's homecoming week, so lots of things happening here for staff and students at Harding. I would welcome all alumni, community members, and family, and certainly our students to join us. At the end of the week, we'll have our first inaugural homecoming parade kicking off from Marion Public Library at 6:15, leading us into the stadium. We will have our homecoming football game and royalty on Friday night, and then we will have our homecoming dance for our students. None of you need to come to that, but that is on Saturday. And I want to commend our student leadership in this building. They have done a fantastic job of honoring some traditions and also starting some new traditions here at Harding with Homecoming Week. So with that, I'll introduce Marsha Pitts, our College and Career Readiness Supervisor.
Thank you. I'm going to be your favorite person because I'm last, other than Mr. Mazzy closing out. But it actually makes sense to close with the college and career because this is directly tied to the legacy pillar, which, as you saw previously in our goal for the college, career, workforce, and military, is all the culmination of every day a child spends with us in Marion City Schools, whether it's a short journey or a long journey. So when we get from preschool to graduation, it's all about what they do with their college or career readiness. So some achievements for us is last year we were awarded a $900,000 Summer Create grant that's specifically for Harding High School and our students. It gives us opportunities to develop orientation programs for our pathways so that our students can be embedded in what they will experience if they're in a pathways program during the year. And it will also give us time for parent outreach and student outreach during the summer, and allow us opportunities to do work-based learning out in the community, where if one of our employers does not have the means to pay for it, we can utilize the grant to actually pay for the work-based learning experience that a student gets during the summer. We also, our Business Advisory Council was one of 15 recipients of the Ohio Business Education Leaders Awards for Excellent Business Advisory Councils. The significance of that is there are over 110 business advisory councils in the state of Ohio, and that partnership, it's heavily weighted on your partnerships in the community, and you'll see the importance of that as we look at our focus areas and also those opportunities for our students during the summer. The new in 2022 is we have the launch of our College and Career Readiness Office. That's pretty much an expansion of the Gear Up office that we've had that was more focused on college readiness, but we're expanding it to college and career readiness. We have 2 new advisors, and then the previous, Mr. King, who was our previous advisor in Gear Up, has remained with us. And then we have Shayna Riedlinger and Aaron Lytle, who are here with us to work with students. The construction of the microfarm and the addition of the agribusiness pathway is also the result of a grant that was an equity for each grant that we've been awarded. And if you've been to that side of the building, and if you have not, you should go over to the student parking lot side, because you will see the construction of the high tunnel and the greenhouse that is over there. And if you follow them on Facebook, you can see updates to where they've already harvested carrots and radishes over there. I believe it was over 700 pounds of carrots that they harvested. We have local community members who are learning to microfarm, but then our agribusiness pathway, which is taught by Brenna Loxley, she actually has our students going out and they are planting plots out in the high tunnel. So working with our students, they get to go outside. That's really technically their lab. So they'll have the opportunity over the years to do quite a bit out there in the greenhouse and the high tunnel. We also have the addition of our information technology networking pathway. That is also the result of a grant. That is the IWIP grant, which is the Innovative Workforce Incentive Program grant. Sorry, trying not to use the acronyms, but that actually allowed us to add this pathway. So our students in the agribusiness and the networking pathway, it gives them opportunity to earn credentials, industry recognized credentials, which are important not only for graduation, but also for students' preparedness if they're going into the workforce after graduation. And that's for even if students are going to college, it allows them the opportunity, those credentials could allow them to get a higher paying job during the summer or while they're working. The one thing to note when we talk to all of our employers, so many businesses, because they really need employees and they want to upskill their employees, are paying either tuition assistance or full tuition for students if they're working for them to go and advance their degrees anywhere up from an associate's through their master's degree. And that's many of our business partners in the community, and that's very important for us to note with our students about opportunities that they could get with our businesses. And that's why those partnerships that we have with our Business Advisor Council are so important for our kids. Our 22-23 focus areas are we're going to be recruiting for our Pathways programs. We currently have 9 programs. We have 281 students enrolled in a pathway, level 1 or level 2. And then in addition, we have 47 students who are in our JROTC program. So again, whether you think college, career, workforce, or military, it's important for us to make sure we're looking at those and how we're recruiting students and informing them of the opportunities that that could give them post-graduation.
We're also going to focus on securing work-based learning opportunities for our students. That allows our students the opportunity to see if they are in a pathway, if they actually are getting out with our business partners and experiencing in the work-based learning, that is this a path that I want to stay on, or is this a path that I don't want to do? Which many of you, if you've actually gone to college, you know that several students their freshman year are undecided, some are undecided, their junior and senior year. So if we can utilize the time while students are in high school to help them decide what they do or don't want to do, that work-based learning opportunity is a very good opportunity for them to actually experience it, as opposed to what it is in a book, or as far as, just like teaching. You see what it is in theory, but then when you get it in practice, it might be a different experience. So those partnerships from our Business Advisory Council are going to be what helps us to have those work-based learning opportunities. You will be seeing we're working on an affiliation with Ohio Health, who wants to have our students come in all areas, and for students to understand that Ohio Health is not just like nursing and doctor employment opportunities, but the whole gamut of, they have an IT networking department, they have marketing. So a lot of our pathways that we have here, our students could find jobs with Ohio Health. And then we are going to work on our plan for the 2023 Summer Create implementation. We were awarded the grant later than what they anticipated. If you're familiar with the Ohio Department of Education, they always have a timeline, and very rarely do they meet their timeline. So we got our monies a little late last year, so actually that $900,000 is going to really be focused on the summer of '23 and the summer of '24. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Mazzi.
Well, first thing I'd like to do is just thank everyone for being here this evening. And whether you're here and you presented, or you're listening, or the amount of staff that aren't here tonight that are just doing a tremendous amount of work in our district and for our children, I'd like to offer up a round of applause for all those people. So as you heard tonight, there's no way we can encompass every single thing that's happening in our district, all the great things that the students that are doing, that the staff are working so hard to make sure our students are successful. But what we hope that we did tonight was paint a picture, gave you a little flavor for what all the great things that are happening across the district for the Marion City Schools. And again, we realize there's much work left to do. But at the same time, we certainly feel that there are celebrations to be had and that we are trending in the right direction. So again, I thank you, and I appreciate everyone's time this evening. And I will say, inspire community achievement and hashtag change the narrative. Yes. Thank you very much.
This time, I think we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Dyer?
Yes.
Mr. Weibling?
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff?
Yes.
Mrs. McKay?
Yes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming tonight.